Revenge is a dish best served goals. No? I worked all night on that one. Fine, I'll just read the script. Football is a game littered with so many bad guys. You know, the pantomime villains are just outright shithousers you can't help but look at and salivate at the prospect of them finally getting their comeuppance. I mean, just listen to what our very own Michael Hamflett had to say about the beautiful game.
I just hate all footballers. How can you even love any football in the first place? Should we fetishise Messi because he does mazy dribbles on Twitter? Or should we have a go at him because he should go to prison for not paying his taxes? Should we worship footballers because they're heroes to young? Or should we vilify them because they might be predatory around young people and go to prison for it? All of them are awful.
I mean, yeah, he's a Sunderland fan, but it's a valid point, isn't it? Oh, sorry. More often than not, these bastards very rarely have any payback or revenge inflicted upon them, particularly the way that our sport has been going in recent years. Still, that is not to say there aren't some fantastic examples of brutal acts of revenge being inflicted on certain players at certain times, and it's with that train of thought that we continue here. Ahead, I have picked out 5 brilliant examples of karma finally coming back to bite someone on the arse, be it more of a physical, brutal assault, a mental attack, or just a player's opportunity to quite rightly stick the middle finger up at someone. With that in mind, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture Football, and these are the 5 most brutal acts of revenge in football history. Number 5, Roy Keane ends Alf-Inge Haaland's career. Hey, didn't say any of these were going to be nice. During a 1997 match against Leeds, Roy Keane's season was left in tatters after he suffered a cruciate ligament injury. As Manchester United slumped to a 1-0 defeat at Ellen Road, a frustrated Keane kicked out at Håland and in the process injured himself. But what really irked the mad Irish bastard was that Håland and his teammate, Premier League legend David Weatherall, stood over him, mocking him for what they thought was a faked injury. And like an elephant, Roy Keane never forgets. Keane famously got his revenge on Håland by essentially ending the Norwegian's career. It was April 2001, and Manchester City, who Håland was now playing for, headed to Old Trafford. And United's captain saw this as the prime time to get his revenge for what happened all those years ago. He hit Håland with this challenge. I mean, that is not a football tackle, is it? That's just GBH. And if you're wondering, I don't know how much of a dedicated Roy Keane stan or Man United fan you'd have to be to question whether or not he intended to hurt Håland with that tackle. Here is what Roy Keane said to The Observer in a 2002 interview. Even in the dressing room afterwards, get ready, editor, by the way, I had no remorse. My attitude was, him. What goes around comes around. He got his just rewards. He fucked me over, and my attitude is an eye for an eye. After that revenge attack, Håland played 6 more games before retiring aged 30 in just 2002. However, who's really got the last laugh here? Because Roy Keane is just an angry bastard on Sky, whilst Alf-Inge Haaland gets to watch his son be mint at football. Number 4, Zidane defends his sister, Materazzi lifts the World Cup. There was revenge for players on both sides of the 2006 World Cup final. Zinedine Zidane for France and Marco Materazzi for Italy. And a little bit of fun there for those of you who enjoy alliteration. But anyway, picture the scene. It is the 2006 World Cup final in Germany. The score is tied at 1-1. Zinedine Zidane scored a relatively early penalty in the game, very cheeky one at that. And ironically, Marco Materazzi is the one who equalised for Italy. We are now in the dying stages of extra time, and it's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. There are a multitude of reports claiming to know exactly what Marco Materazzi said, with people saying that they can read his lips and obviously need to understand Italian to know what he said. But anyway, the general gist of it that I believe is Materazzi had been pissing off Zinedine Zidane for most of the game, and he was seen tugging at his shirt, to which Zidane finally responded, can you just leave me alone, effectively? What, do you want my shirt or something? And then in Italian, which I don't speak, so I'm just going to translate, and apologies for anyone who's offended by this, Materazzi responded, "I prefer the whore that is your sister." Zinedine Zidane wasn't too pleased about the nature of his sister being besmirched, and therefore headbutted Marco Materazzi in one of the most iconic World Cup images ever. Zinedine Zidane saw red, but effectively defended his sister's honour. Materazzi had a slightly painful chest, but Italy went on to win the game in penalties, and Italy went on to lift the World Cup, as did Marco Materazzi. So I suppose it's up to you which exact act of revenge you prefer here. One that is physical violence but defends family's honour, or one that wins you the World Cup. Dealer's choice. Number 3, Emmanuel Adebayor silences the Gooners. When Emmanuel Adebayor left Arsenal for suddenly flush Manchester City in 2009 for a fee of around 26 million, most Gunners fans weren't best pleased for what they saw as effectively a cash grab by the Togo striker, and they subjected him to dog's abuse that season, mainly on social media, but also when Arsenal headed to the Etihad for a game in the Premier League. The entirety of the game was spent abusing Emmanuel Adebayor, but it's fair to say he got the last laugh. Yes, of course, Manchester City won the game 4-2, but genuinely, I'd forgotten what the score was in that game, because all I can remember, all any fans of either Manchester City, Arsenal, or just banter can remember, is that moment that the ball was crossed in to the Arsenal box. Emmanuel Adebayor leapt like a young salmon, headed it into the Arsenal net, and then proceeded to do one of the most outrageous celebrations I've ever seen. He sprinted the entire length of the pitch to slide on his knees and celebrate in front of the Arsenal fans, who promptly went insane. There was people trying to get to him, try and chuck stuff at him, ripping up chairs in the Etihad. It's genuinely the fastest I've ever seen Emmanuel Adebayor move, and it boiled the piss of just every Gunners fan on earth. I honestly haven't seen Arsenal fans that angry after this celebration since actually every time I watch Arsenal fan TV. Number 2, Sweden troll Lavin Kurzawa. Oh dear. Oh dear, 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 dear. Anyone who has scored a sweaty goal against their mate on FIFA and then panicked as they seemingly came back into the game, and you thought, wait, the game's got to be trolling me here, and had that panic of your mate beating you and then rubbing it in your face, you'll be able to relate to this. You see, the revenge here against Lavin Kurzawa was nothing physical. That would arguably have been a lot better. It was being mugged off by an entire national team. Let me paint the scene for you. It is the 88th minute of a crucial game between France under-21s and Sweden under-21s. Lavin Kurzawa, the left-back, has scored what he thinks is the winner that will send France under-21s through to Euro 2015. But he doesn't just celebrate, he decides to show off in the face of Swedish player John Guidetti. And considering it's on this list, you can probably guess what happens next. Sweden score a last-minute goal to send themselves through to Euro 2015 in place of France under-21s. And they decided to celebrate this fact by mocking Lavin Kurzawa's celebration. And if that couldn't get any worse, Sweden under-21s went on to win Euro 2015. And yes, you guessed it, when lifting the trophy, copied Lavin Kurzawa's celebration. There's a lesson here for everyone, and we'll never learn it. Number 1, Didier Zokora kicks racism out of football. This is without doubt my favourite act of revenge, and it merits the #1 spot. For the longest time now, the slogan regarding getting rid of racism from the beautiful game has, of course, been kick racism out of football. And back in 2012, Emre Belözoğlu, you may remember from Newcastle all those years ago, felt the full force of that. So basically, it was Fenerbahce versus Trabzonspor, and Emre, in full view of TV cameras, hacked down Didier Zokora, the Ivory Coast international, and then proceeded to racially abuse him. But then it appeared as though Emre was gonna kind of get off quite lightly. He was given a 2-match ban, and that was kind of it. Everyone was furious, and there's probably a video that you've seen about this where they say, well, if the authorities aren't going to act, we're going to have to do it ourselves. Yes, you see, that happened in April of 2012. In May of 2012, Fenerbahce and Trabzonspor faced each other once again, and Zokora, and credit to them, all of his teammates basically spent that entire game kicking Emre off the park for being a racist bastard. My favourite of all this is the fact that they obviously just tackled him late and committed cynical fouls on him. Didier Zokora literally kicked Emre in the bollocks, just square in the nuts. There's your punishment. It is the most beautiful serving of karma you will have ever seen, and the cherry on the icing on the cake after this was the fact that Emre then received a 2-month suspended prison sentence for his racist acts. Let's kick racism out of football, particularly square in the bollocks. So there you have it, the 5 most brutal acts of revenge in football history. Did we miss any out? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much for everyone who's been writing comments recently saying that it's great to see the football channel back. Look, we absolutely love doing this. We just want to do more of it, so if you can spread the word about this channel, that would be very, very much appreciated. Also, if you want to listen to some of the debates that we have, it's all kicking off, Premier League previews, that sort of thing. You can get them as podcasts. All you have to do is search for WhatCulture Football wherever you get your podcasts from, and follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureFC, and I am at Adam Wilborn. This has been the 5 most brutal acts of revenge in football history. Screw you, Emre. Thanks very much for watching, and we will see you soon.